I'm a little bit worried about how much it wobbles. Once we get out in a pitching, rolling sea, I'm a little bit worried there's going to be a lot of stress on that. Yes, gotcha! Happy Yeti! Alright, so we're going to do a backing plate behind the Railblazer track. Give it a bit more rigidity on there. I've got some 3mm alley, it's just scrap. Got a few holes in it, but that's alright, we can avoid those. So I'll cut it in half and then shape it down a little bit, make it a bit narrower, and we'll go from there. It's just the right length, covers over those screws. It is going to be fractionally too wide for the flat space side of the hull there, so I'm going to have to shave a bit off there, and then I'll round off the corners as well, just for general, making sure you don't have those spiky points digging into the hull at some point. And we'll see how we go. So check out this really professional move. Because it's nice soft alley, I'm literally just going to get an old paver and round off all my corners on there like so. I'll give it a little bit more than that to make it a bit smoother, but easy as that. Can't be bothered getting out anything else, use a paver. It's pretty much the same process as sharpening a knife, just on a really coarse stone. Alright, so relatively nice, smooth, rounded edges. Not perfect, but they'll do. So it's out with the old. So, taking those screws out, taking my track off again. As I said, I'm going to use this hole as my datum because it lines up nicely with that hole. So coming inside the hull, just trying to get it to line up. I've just got one of these little mini screwdrivers, which I'm going to use straight in there so that I know the hole is lined up. So what I discovered from that process is that this corner is actually hitting this sloped bit. So I've marked this bottom hole here, and obviously that's a little bit further down. I'm gonna knock off another 1/2 centimeter off the bottom and then round out that corner, and that should solve that problem because it'll be hitting about here. And once I clear that, we'll be all good. All right, so I've reshaped that plate and I just moved it. I gave up on using the pre-cut hole. I didn't seem to be able to get at it anyway. Hopefully that'll give me enough marks. There. Can't see those ones. So I'm already committed to using these holes anyway, because that's where I've put my self tappers in. So I'm going to stretch them out. I've just got an M4, obviously to match my M4 bolts. So we'll just open them up a bit. So the bolts are a nice tight fit. You kind of have to screw them through, but they go through nonetheless. Which obviously, once you put a nut on the other side, you pull them down easy. But I will clean up those tops to make them easier to use. Alright, so I've got all my marks. So, here we go. So I have a confession to make. The tolerances were a bit too close for my level of abilities. So I've actually blown each of those holes out to a 4.5mm, not just the 4mm. But I've now got all but one bolt in. So I am just gonna put the nuts on them, do them up, and then zap that last hole. So it'll be a bit of a stretched hole there, but that should be fine. Of course, there's a bit of a knack to getting a washer onto a bolt and then a nut onto the bolt inside there, but we can all do it by touch. It's a bit tricky, but it's not impossible. It's much easier using normal nuts as well, not lock nuts. And we just tighten them up. So what I've also realized as I've been tightening these up is that because I'm using that thin aluminium as my backing plate, it's actually bending as I'm doing up the bolts, which means it's conforming to the shape of the hull on the inside, which I think is a good thing.
It's pretty dark in there.
And I won't bore you with the other side install. I assure you it'll be exactly the same, hopefully. Maybe less drama, maybe more. I'll let you know. So there you have it, mounted on a backing plate. That's a lot firmer. Obviously the plastic gear track's still a bit wobbly, but it ain't going anywhere. See you next time.